Alright, picture this for a sec. It's a chilly Cork night in 1981. The kind of night where the streetlights flicker and the only sound you hear is your own shoes on the pavement. A woman middle-aged, dressed neatly, clutching her handbag is standing by the roadside. She's waving at cars, not frantic, just hopeful, like she's saying, "Hey, someone please stop." But nobody does. Then nothing. She just disappears. No phone call, no letter, no goodbye. 1 minute she's there, the next she's gone. And here's the part that'll rattle your head. 42 years pass. 4-2. Whole generations grow up, get married, have kids, and this case is still sitting there, collecting dust like an unwanted souvenir. Cops move on, witnesses die, files fade. But somewhere out there, one person still knows exactly what happened. And then, one random day, that old forgotten case file gets pulled off a shelf. And boom, everything changes. Science has evolved. Forensics got smarter. The past, it's about to punch back. Because when Ireland finally heard Nora Sheehan's name again, it wasn't nostalgia. It was justice knocking 42 years late. Meet Nora Sheehan. 54 years old, from Ballafahane in Cork, a mum of 3, a wife, a neighbor, a real human being with a normal, everyday life. You know the type, the woman who always has a kind word for the postman and never forgets a birthday. Now, this isn't some mysterious stranger kind of case. Nora wasn't living in the shadows or doing anything wild. She was just Nora, living her life in a small Irish city where everyone knows everyone. It's June 1981. The summer starts like any other, people hanging clothes out to dry, kids playing football on the streets, life feels safe. And then out of nowhere she vanishes. One moment she's heading out for something completely ordinary. A quick trip to the hospital after a dog bite. And that tiny forgettable errand becomes the last thing she ever does. Now pause for a second. Think of all the times you've left your house for something simple, grabbing milk, walking the dog, quick checkup, and expected to come home right after. That was Nora. Except she never walked back through her door again. The search starts, the whispers begin. The guards can't find her. Her family waits. And nobody realizes that this disappearance is about to become one of the longest unsolved mysteries in Irish history. Because what starts as a missing person story is about to spiral into 4 decades of silence, science, and shocking truth. So it's the night of June 6, 1981. Cork is quiet, streetlights humming, the city half asleep. Nora heads to South Infirmary Victoria Hospital, nothing dramatic, just a dog bite. Totally normal, you or I would have done the same. But here's where the universe decides to get dark. Inside the hospital, there's a 16-year-old boy who spots her. He remembers her clearly, that old-fashioned blue coat, a small hat with a ribbon, a handbag clutched like her life depends on it. He says she looked vulnerable. Not scared exactly, just fragile. Like someone holding it together in public, hoping nobody notices. She talks to staff, she gets treated. Then she leaves, and that's when everything goes sideways. A neighbor later says they saw her near Vickers Street, standing under a lamppost waving at passing cars. Middle of the night, no taxis, no friends waiting, just waving. Think about that. A woman alone after midnight trying to flag someone down in 1981 Cork, where the streets are empty and quiet as a graveyard. Some people assumed she'd had a few drinks. Others thought she was confused, maybe lost. But the truth? Nobody actually stopped. Nobody helped. And that image, Nora standing there under the streetlight, her hand raised like she's reaching out for safety. That's the last living moment anyone ever remembers of her. What's wild is that one simple act, waving at cars, becomes the centerpiece of a mystery that lasts 4 decades. Was she waiting for a friend? A stranger? Or someone she already knew? We don't know. All we know is, after that night, Nora Sheehan vanished. Gone from Cork, gone from the world. And by morning, the silence had already started. 6 days go by. No sign of Nora, no phone call, no trace. Her family's panicking, the guards are asking around, and the whole of Cork is whispering. Then June 12, 1981. Out in Shippool Woods near Inishannon, a group of forestry workers are just doing their morning routine, checking timber, cutting brush, normal stuff. And one of them notices something strange under a tree. At first, it looks like rubbish, like someone dumped old clothes or a plastic bag. But as they step closer, it's not rubbish, it's a body. And not just any body, it's a woman. She's lying there, naked, badly bruised, partially wrapped in a plastic sheet. No ID, no belongings. But it doesn't take long before the guards realize who she is. It's Nora Sheehan. That discovery hits Cork like a punch. This isn't a missing person anymore, it's something far worse. Now here's where it gets grim. The location where she was found, it's off the road. Not somewhere you just stumble upon. Whoever left her there knew the area. They picked a spot hidden deep enough that nobody would notice for days. The guards close off the woods, reporters gather. And suddenly, everyone who thought Nora might have just gone off for a bit is slapped with the cold truth she didn't run away. Someone took her there. The case goes from quiet confusion to full-blown nightmare in one morning. But the hardest part? Even with the scene found, nobody knows who did it or why. And that's the start of a new kind of silence, the kind that hums under every small town rumor and never really goes away. So, 1981. The year when everything was still done on paper, fingerprints took forever, and DNA testing was basically science fiction. The guards get to work. They interview people, trace her last movements, and search the area around Shippool Woods. They even find clues, fibers, paint flakes, bits of possible evidence that in another time could have blown the case wide open. But here's the thing, Ireland didn't have the kind of forensic science that we rely on today. The samples were collected, bagged, and stored, but what could they actually do with them? Not much. It's like having puzzle pieces from a picture no one has seen yet. And then fate makes things worse. The pathologist who performed Nora's post-mortem dies not long after finishing his report. Yeah, just like that, one of the key experts in the case is gone. His notes remain, but the man who could explain them is no longer around to testify or clarify a thing. The case starts losing momentum. Weeks become months. The trail goes cold fast. People talk, rumors spread, but hard evidence? Still nothing solid enough to charge anyone. Here's where it stings. A car belonging to a local man is examined. They find fibers, paint, and all sorts of forensic hints inside. But back then, without modern testing, it's like trying to identify someone with a magnifying glass and a hunch. They can't connect the dots, so no one's arrested. Eventually, the investigation hits a wall. And not just any wall, a bureaucratic, frustrating, we've done everything we can kind of wall. By the mid-80s, the name Nora Sheehan starts fading from the papers. Another case file gets pushed to the back of the shelf. What hurts is knowing they had the evidence all along, it was just waiting for the right decade. And so the 80s move on, Cork moves on, but the box with Nora's name on it stays right there, sealed in storage, waiting. Fast forward more than 40 years. Ireland's changed. Phones are smart, cars are electric, and crime labs can pull DNA off a half-century old hair. Somewhere inside a dusty Garda evidence locker sits that same box marked Nora Sheehan 1981. A new cold case team opens it. Fresh eyes, new tech, same determination. They start from zero, fiber bags, old car paint, witness notes yellowed like tea stains. This time science is on their side. The team compares everything again. Tiny navy fibers from Nora's coat line up perfectly with fibers from a car carpet seized back in the 80s. Paint fragments metallic blue, light gray, and dark gray match the same vehicle layer by layer. That's not coincidence, that's connection. Then comes the jaw-drop moment. Preserved biological samples from Nora's body, stored since the original autopsy, go through modern DNA testing. The lab extracts a partial male profile. They run it against a man already known to the guards all along. Result? A match. It's wild evidence that sat frozen in time for decades suddenly speaks. The fibers whisper, it was him. The DNA screams, we can prove it. By 2021, investigators finally have what they never had in 1981: hard science. Not guesses, not gossip, cold, irrefutable data. And after all those years, they knock on Noel Long's door. Imagine that you've lived your life, you think the past is buried, and then detectives show up holding proof from 42 years ago. That's when the story turns from mystery to reckoning. August 4th, 2023. 42 years after Nora Sheehan's disappearance, the courtroom in Dublin is packed. Family members, reporters, and people who never even met her, all waiting for a verdict that feels like it's been traveling through time to get here. On the stand, Noel Long, 74 years old. White hair, quiet face, looks more like someone's granddad than the man accused of one of Ireland's oldest unresolved killings. But appearances can lie. After weeks of testimony from scientists, forensic experts, and people who still remember Cork in the early 80s, the jury comes back. Unanimous, guilty of murder. And just like that, one of the longest running prosecutions in Irish history ends with a name, a sentence, and a sigh of relief that's been waiting 4 decades to escape. The judge calls it what it is: a brutal killing that denied a woman her dignity and left a family haunted for generations. Nora's relatives speak of heartbreak and closure in the same breath. Because that's the thing about justice, this late it heals and hurts at the same time. For the guards and forensic teams, this isn't just another win. It's proof that cold cases can thaw if you keep them in the light long enough. That science can reach further than memory. But let's be real, it shouldn't have taken 42 years. Nora was failed by the limits of her time, by missing technology, by people who probably meant well but didn't have the tools. Now her name lives in Irish legal history, not just as a victim, but as a symbol of what happens when you refuse to let silence win. And the irony? The killer got to live an entire lifetime before being caught, while Nora never got to finish hers. Yet somehow, even from the grave, she had the last word. Here's the part that sticks with you, the part that makes you look at every quiet Irish road a little differently. That night, Nora Sheehan was out there waving at cars, hoping someone would stop. Someone kind, someone safe, someone who'd get her home. But no one did. Decades later, it wasn't a driver who finally stopped for her, it was science. It was evidence that refused to stay buried. A strand of fiber, a smear of paint, a drop of DNA that waited patiently in the dark until the world was ready to listen. She couldn't tell her story, so her evidence did it for her. And maybe that's the most haunting thing: justice didn't arrive when she needed it most. It arrived when everyone thought it was too late. 42 years of silence broken by one verdict, and suddenly Ireland remembered her. So the next time you walk down a quiet street or drive past a lonely stretch of road, think of Nora. Because while people change, memories fade, and decades pass, evidence doesn't forget. Her story proves something heavy, that even when the world stops listening, truth keeps whispering until somebody finally hears. And that's the story of Nora Sheehan, the woman who waited 42 years for justice and got it when no one expected it. If this story got under your skin, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me, do you think justice this late is still justice, or just history catching up? Stay curious, stay human, and I'll see you in the next one.